that's been communicated to us is that putting data in the cloud is, they feel like they're losing control. So there's this, but it's just a perception. And, you know, as you know, perception's reality, isn't it? So they feel like the documents are just out there in the cloud and they don't know exactly where they are. But when you say the data's in the cloud, what does it actually mean? Where have you put the documents? Where is the actual concern? What's the actual fear? So when we're talking to lawyers and partners, and we start asking them these very, very specific questions, it becomes quite clear to us that they actually haven't given it much thought. It's just a fear that they have, or it's a very serious concern. And it was really interesting because when we were in a conversation with a law firm a few weeks ago, you know, the lawyer realized that, well, actually I have no actual reason why these documents shouldn't go in the cloud. He actually couldn't find one. It was just, it's in the cloud. This is the problem. But it's understandable because at the end of the day, their role is to provide legal advice. It's not to know the nuts and bolts of the technology that they're using. So many of them are used to Gmail, so they understand Gmail, how to send, receive, and create calendar entries, but do they know how it actually works in the background? No, well, they don't need to, that's not their role. So that's one concern that we need to address with them. Now, another one, of course, is data security. Now, this is a genuine fear, and it is founded on just plainly reading the news. Obviously in the news, the Panama Papers and Mossack Fonseca, a law firm. So law firms are obviously, need to address this issue. And I think that, to be frank, for a long time, law firms have been very, very strong with protecting client confidentiality with regards to paper, but not necessarily so with technology. Now, granted, each law firm is at a different stage. But security, information security, data security, whatever you want to call it, it's always seen as somebody else's problem. And it's not just law firms, it's every single organization. Security is not my problem, that's IT's problem. But it actually is your problem, and it is your role to ensure that confidentiality is retained. And now that the vast majority of documents are all electronic, information security, data security, or cyber security, whatever it is you want to call it this week, is a major concern to everyone, not just law firms, not just partners. I mean, think of the consequences of a law firm, in Hong Kong or in Singapore that had a data breach and all those confidential data were leaked online. I'd be quite sure they'd be out of business pretty fast, and certainly would be the recipient of lawsuits as well. Added to that, you've got the data privacy laws, which most likely also apply to law firms. So data security is definitely a major concern. These type of incidents, these cybersecurity incidents, cybercrime, whatever it is you want to call it, are growing exponentially. This is an area that, as a company, we actually investigate on the forensic side. And we're definitely seeing a lot more interest in our cybersecurity investigations. So I think law firms should really be addressing this with not just with technology, but also with staff training and putting in robust processes to ensure that their clients' data remains confidential. Now, with regards putting client data in the cloud or putting document sets related to a litigation in the cloud, one argument that has been made is that, as this is their core business, it is in the cloud-based service provider's best interests to offer, robust data security features, whether that is email or storage or, e-discovery solutions. On the other hand, another argument I've heard being made is that, putting your confidential data in the cloud with a well-known service provider is actually drawing attention to it. Or maybe it just happens to be there and they are able to breach one aspect or one server which may grant them access to other servers. So you're caught in the crossfire, you're collateral damage, so to speak. I am not so sure I agree with that argument, mainly because you could just look at the sheer growth of the cloud-based computing industry, with Amazon, obviously with their AWS service, with Azure from Microsoft, and other service providers. Cloud isn't going to go away. So again, going back to what I said earlier, you need to be doing a proper due diligence and really understand what it is you're getting into. Another final concern for clients is that they don't know where the data actually resides. So in the past, what would happen is it went up in the cloud. Well, where is it? It's in the cloud, which goes back to the first concern. It's the lack of control. They don't know where it is. So this can be a problem because sometimes putting data into the cloud means that it goes into another jurisdiction, which means that if a regulator wants to get his hands on your data, he can do that a lot easier because it's in country. If, for example, you are brought in, you're sued, or you're brought in as third party, then data is there. It's easier to gain discovery of that data because it's within that jurisdiction. So what this means is that another issue is that putting data into cloud, you could fall foul of certain regulations. So for example, I think it was a Russian banking regulator said that all data related to Russian bank accounts and bank holders must remain in Russia. So some people have argued that, well, that's kind of like closing the barn door after the horse is bolted, because the data is already out there. How are you going to restrict it from continuing to be hosted on cloud-based solutions overseas, and how are you going to get it all back? Ironically, what's happened is as the law has caught up with the technology has kept on moving forward. So now you can have, like I said earlier, infrastructure as a service. So you can have a private cloud. You can have that on premise or within a data center. You can also get your data hosted in the cloud with Azure or with Amazon, and they have data centers in country, and they can certify that the data will reside within that specific jurisdiction. So, look, I don't think everyone is going to put every single piece of data in the cloud. I just don't think that's realistic. But I think that we need to overcome this fear of putting data in the cloud, especially as, frankly, most organizations, including law firms, are already using it.